This class is a continuation of the first color correction class, where we went over some of the basics. For instance, not to color correct in CMYK, and we talked about going over some of the different color correction tools like levels and curves, and we didn't really go into any color tools. It was more just levels and curves, really. In this case, in this class, I'm going to go over more about how to evaluate an image, and we'll go over some global color correction techniques and hopefully get to some local color correction techniques. So the first step is evaluating the image, and I get asked a lot, like, where do you start? How do you start with an image? And there's really several things you need to look at. First is the overall brightness and contrast. And then you look at the color, see if it's color casted, which in this case, this image is very color casted. It has a lot of red in it. And you look at the color saturation. Is it oversaturated or undersaturated? Right now, some of it looks a little oversaturated as far as the skin goes, but we'll take a look at that a little bit later. And then you also look at the details, see if there's any areas that are either blown out or maybe shadow areas that are just lack detail. And we do have a blown out area, which in the sky here. I'm working on this image because sometimes we have to work on images that aren't the best. So we gotta make the best out of them. So, good morning. So, when evaluating this image, there's a couple of things. It's a little muddy, especially if you look in the shadows here. There's not a lot of detail or separation in there. We have blown out highlights. We have a definite red color cast, and you to decide what to do first. You gotta discern what is the worst part of it. Is it the fact that it's a little muddy in the shadows, or is it the color cast? To me, I'd probably work on the color cast first. And when correcting an image, you always want to start with global corrections. And what global corrections mean basically is corrections that affect the image as a whole versus local corrections. And local corrections would be, for instance, if I need to adjust just the skin tones, or just the water, or maybe this tree trunk, or the leaves. Those are local corrections. So to get started, we'll open our layers palette, and I'm going to load some actions here that I created because this will help us on our way. And I have a set of actions that is available to everybody if you haven't installed them already. And they're on Archive Storage 1, or the Y drive to most people. And you can find them in Photo Submissions, Art General, Adobe Resources, and then under Photoshop Actions. And the action set is called Color Correction. So you click on that and hit load. Okay. So the first action I'm going to use is called color cast removal, because that is the issue. We have a color cast throughout the whole image, and you can tell you have a color cast when you basically look at the image and you look at areas that are more of a neutral tone. Maybe hit the guy's shorts, this tree trunk are probably the most neutral areas of the image, or the closest to neutral. Which, when I say neutral, I mean basically like a neutral gray, or a value without much color. So you would, if you had anything that was white, or like his shorts were white, or if you had a road or something like that, a lot of times you would use, or sidewalk, you'd use those as neutral values, or to look at for sampling, to see if they're neutral or not. I can just look at it and tell that there's obviously a red cast throughout the whole thing. Everything is red, even the tree, the leaves on the trees our cast a little red, the guy's shorts are a little red, the tree trunk's red, their skin is a little red. If you need to really look at it, we can go to Info Palette, and we'll just cover the cursor over. First, we want to make sure that we're on at least a 3x3 or 5x5 sample size. We'll do 5x5 here, and we'll just kind of hover over, and we're looking at, if you look in the RGB, you can really tell red is 104, green is 73, and blue is 43, and actual, tree trunks, it might be a little bit on the warmer side, like naturally, but it wouldn't be that red. Okay, so we're going to start with that the action, color cast removal, and we'll hit play. What this action is doing is it duplicates the image, and then it creates if you go into the filter menu, it does a blur average. And what blur average does is it blurs the image to find the average color. It tries to find what is the cast. So, and then the action basically inverts the cast. So if it would have been red, and then you can see that this color layer in the layers palette is a bit of a cyan blue color. So that would be the inverse of your cast. And then it basically duplicates it.
Sorry.
Bless you. And basically it duplicates it, and then sets the layers to different layer modes. When using this action, a lot of times you have to tweak some of the settings. Like you might check to see maybe if overlay works better instead of soft light on this one. And we can see that it does a little bit. That's the before, and that's after. With the set to overlay, we were able to get a little bit more color separation in there, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a separation in colors so that the tree trunk looks like a tree trunk, the guy's shorts look like his shorts. We're getting some good definition and color in the image. Sometimes if you have a really bad color cast, you can increase this top layer that's set to color. The mode set to color. It's only set at 5%, but sometimes you can go to like 15, even more if you have a really heavy color cast. Go to 15. Sometimes when you're doing that, though, it does tend to maybe flatten the image a little bit, but that's okay because we can correct that after the fact. And again, these are all global color corrections because it's affecting the image as a whole. So now we can, since we affected the color, it's not quite perfect, but we're getting there. And that's another thing with color correcting too, is that you don't try to get it perfect on the first adjustment. Usually you get to layer adjustments. Most of my Photoshop documents have 10 plus layers, because you want to move yourself into a direction. If you try to get it just perfect on the first time, it's just not going to look right or as good as it could look. So next we can try curves, and well, it's an interesting shot because we have this big blown out sky. It's kind of looks maybe low light, probably stormy day, and we want it to look. We can accentuate some of these colors in here and make it look dramatic without it looking stormy and kind of flat and dark looking. So that's going to be the goal for this image, is to give it a dramatic look without it looking kind of blah and stormy. So new in, actually I think CS2 is the histogram in the curves. So this allows me to see where the information starts and ends.
So with the curves, now you're trying to work on the brightness and contrast, right?
Yes. Yeah.